Okay, guys, we're going to talk about transforming a quadratic equation from standard form to vertex form. So let's just review from last semester. Our standard form of a quadratic equation is just f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And then vertex form of the exact same equation would be f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And all of those variables mean something different, right? If we're in vertex form, remember HK is your vertex. The A value in both of those equations tells you how tall, how vertically tall or vertically compressed your quadratic equation is. The parabola, when you graph it, it tells you if it opens up or down, all that good stuff, right? So how do we solve this problem? It says, if I want to take this equation right here that is in standard form, the first step that we want to do is identify our A, B, and C values. Okay, that's going to be step one right here. Step one, and let me highlight it in red so we know what we're doing. We're going to color match. So step one, identify the A, B, and C values. Well, anytime you're looking for your A value, it's always going to be attached to your x squared term. And we have this invisible number 1 right there, yes? Our B value is always attached to our x term. And our C value is always the constant. So in this case, it's a positive 4. All right, so we're in standard form. We identified A, B, and C. The second step to converting from standard to vertex form is we're going to use this formula x equals negative b over 2a. And what that's going to do is give us the x coordinate of our vertex. It's going to give us the x coordinate of our vertex. So remember that when you find the x coordinate of your vertex, when we sub that into our vertex form, that's going to be the variable h. Okay? So x equals negative b over 2a. That's what we're doing next. X equals negative b over 2a. Now, if we have b is equal to 6, then negative b is just going to be negative 6. Always changes sign, right? And then over 2 times our a value. 2 times our a value. I'm always going to use parentheses to show multiplication. So negative 6 divided by 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is just 2. So we have negative 6 divided by 2, which gives us negative 3. Don't forget, this thing right here is the x coordinate of our vertex, which when we sub it in, it's always going to be our h value. But it is the x coordinate of our vertex. So anytime you have an x value and you want to find the y value that goes with it, you're just going to do step 3. Step 3 tells us we're going to substitute in the value that we found for our x coordinate into our standard equation, and that's going to give us the y value of our vertex. And again, what do we always call the y value of our vertex? It's going to be variable k. All right, so let's take our standard form of the equation right here. I'm just going to rewrite it for you guys. Y equals x squared plus 6x plus 4. That's our standard form. We're going to take this negative 3 and we're going to sub it in. Y equals, instead of saying x squared, I am going to say negative 3 squared. And I will always put parentheses around a value before I square it. Then we have plus 6. And instead of multiplying by x, we're going to multiply by negative 3 again. Remember, the x value we're using is negative 3. And then plus 4. So you can simplify this in your head. You can use your calculator if you need to. Just make sure that anytime you square something, you put parentheses around it. Because when you square a negative, it becomes positive. So this gives us y equals negative 3 squared is 9. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. So we have 9 minus 18 is going to give us negative 9. Plus 4 more gives us negative 5. So this right here is the y coordinate of our vertex. And remember, anytime we have the y coordinate of our vertex, we call it our k value. So we've got h and k. Step 4 of this process says write your equation in vertex form using a, h, and k. Now I have all of the information that we need. I know our A value is going to be a positive 1. It's going to be, the A value in standard form is the same as the A value in vertex form. The H value, or the X coordinate of our vertex, is negative 3. And the Y value, or the K of our vertex, is negative 5. So, standard form, Y equals A times X minus H squared plus K. Let's sub in our values. Y equals, our A value is a positive 1 times X minus H. X minus a negative 3 turns it into a plus 3 squared. And then we're adding our K value, which is a negative 5. So we're just going to say plus a negative is minus 5. And there we go. All right, let's look at this next example right here. So step 1 says identify our A, B, and C values. So our A value is a positive 2. Our B value is a negative 4. And our C value is a positive 3. And then we're going to use our equation, or our formula, x equals negative b over 2a, to determine the x coordinate of our vertex. So what we are looking for right now is this value right here. Okay, we need the x coordinate of our vertex. So if my b value is a negative 4, the negative b would be a positive 4. We just changed the sign. Over 2 times our a value of 2. Right? So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 divided by 4 gives us 1. So that is the x coordinate of our vertex. That's h. That's positive 1. Now we need to determine what the y coordinate is of our vertex, or our k value. So we're just going to take the original equation, f of x in standard form, equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 3. We're taking this equation right here, and we're going to sub in the number 1 for our x values. So f of 1 should equal 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 again plus 3. And don't forget, anytime you have f of x or f of a value, that just means we're figuring out what the y value is. F of x and y are the same thing. So f of x, f of 1 equals. This squared right here only applies to the number 1. So order of operations, PEMDAS, we simplify inside our parentheses first, and there's nothing to simplify inside. And then 1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2, minus 4 is negative 2, plus 3 is positive 1. So this positive 1 right here is the y coordinate of our vertex. When we write this in vertex form, we call this k. So we have h and we have k. Now, in order to write our equation in vertex form, it's always y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. We have our a value, we have our h value, we have our k value, right? So y equals a value of 2 times x minus h, x minus 1 squared, and then plus our k value plus 1. Please notice, always notice, if my h value is a positive 1, when it gets subbed into our equation, it turns into a minus 1 because we're subtracting our h value. It's always going to be the opposite sign. It was the same with this first example up here. Our h value was a negative 3. When we sub it in, it turns into a positive 3. All right, last example. H of x equals, and h of x is the same thing as saying f of x, which is the same thing as saying y equals, right? So h of x equals negative 2x squared plus 8x plus 3. Identify. Our a value is negative 2. Our b value is positive 8. Our c value is positive 3. All right, and then we need to figure out what is the vertex. Oops, because our a value is negative, it opens down, right? Our a value is a -2, so this time my parabola is going to open down. We need to figure out this point right here. Got to figure out what that value is. So we're going to use the formula x equals -b over 2a. And if my b value is a +8, then -b would be -8. You just switch the sign. Over 2 times our a value of -2. So this is the same thing as saying -8 over -4, which gives us +2. That right there is the x-coordinate of our vertex, +2. And again, we call that h when we're in vertex form. Now we're just going to take that value and we're going to substitute it into our equation that's in standard form right here. So h of x equals -2x squared plus 8x plus 3. We just need to substitute in the number 2 for our x value. So h of 2. That means what is my equation h equal to when my x value is 2? H of 2 equals -2 times 2 squared. Because remember, the x value we just found was +2. Plus 8 times, again, 2 plus 3. All right, let's simplify. H of 2. And again, you can type this all into your calculator. Just make sure that you're using the correct symbols. You're using your parentheses where you need to. But order of operations says we're going to do 2 squared first. 2 squared is 4. 4 times -2 is -8. -8 plus 16 is +8. Plus 3 is 11. So that's the y-coordinate of our vertex. The y-coordinate of our vertex is 11. Okay? So we call that k when we are in vertex form. Remember, vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Our a value is -2. Our h value is +2. And our k value is +11. So y equals -2 times x minus h, x minus 2 squared, and then our k value plus k is +11. Just don't forget, this h value is positive, so when you substitute it into your equation down here, it ends up being a negative value. And that's how you can change your equation from standard form to vertex form. Dadgummit.